On Thursday, the Pirates finally pulled the plug on Dennis Santana this year. He was supposed to be one of this club's big time relievers. He was supposed to be the face of this bullpen. And he unfortunately, unintentionally was. The struggles of this unit, he is a big part of it. And it's why the Pirates are going to be going into this deadline in desperate need to add not only relievers, but guys who could pitch the eighth and ninth. It was a really disappointing end, though. And whenever I look at this 2026 club, I see fingerprints of what he did in 2025. And if they do go on to do something special, it's a shame that Dennis Santana is not going to be part of that group to enjoy the fruits of that labor. Good morning and welcome to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. My name is Alex Stumpf, and this is a daily look at your Pittsburgh Pirates. Dennis Santana was designated for assignment Thursday whenever the Pirates acquired Ron Marinaccio from the Padres. 4.79 ERA over 47 innings. Look, I really don't have a whole lot of analysis here. Average fastball, seems to throw it into a pretty good lane. Maybe he could stick, but it's not my big takeaway from this trade. My takeaway is it was probably time to part ways with Santana. He just didn't have much of a path to getting better in Pittsburgh. And with just how the bullpen is right now, they can't afford to put a pitcher in that type of spot. And we talked last week about, players who could make a huge impact on the second half of this year. And Santana was one of those players. But I put as a caveat, look, he has to show something fast because the trade deadline's coming up. Pirates are going to be adding pitchers. He might be one of the guys who gets DFA'd. And the next move they make is DFAing him. It's a shame because that 2025 Pirates team was rough. That was a rough year. And one of their big accomplishments was just crossing the finish line. They needed to get through it. And Santana was one of those guys who helped them get through the year. He, clubhouse would get down. He would always try to keep it up. He would always have his arm around someone. He would always be going out to catch with someone. He always made sure other players were included. He was one of the bigger leaders of that team. And he was a really good success story. He was a waiver claim. And he got better because he was coachable, because he was willing to experiment, add more cutters. He made a commitment to himself. He started working out with Aroldis Chapman. They kept texting after, they were no longer teammates. He put himself in a better physical spot for the season ahead. And he had a really good 2025. Yeah, it was probably better than the peripherals would indicate, but the peripherals themselves were still good. There was reason to believe this guy who took over for David Bednar in August and September, not to mention in April, whenever Bednar was in Indianapolis, there was reason to believe he could do that again in 2026. And then they bring in Gregory Soto. And there aren't a lot of pitchers who are in that unofficial closer role who'd be cool with bringing in someone who's going to pitch the ninth inning occasionally. But, good for the team. Let's do it. We'll create better matchups. If it's a lot of lefties in the ninth, it'll be Soto. If it's righties, I got it. And he got off to that good start. And then that series against St. Louis. And that blown save and those home runs. And he just never looked right ever since. He did have that run not too long ago where he had 12 outings and 10 of them were scoreless. And it wasn't, 2025 Dennis Santana, but it was a legitimately pretty good run. They were low leverage spots. They were really catering to him. But it's like, okay, he might be building up a head of steam, and Don Kelly put him back in those leverage spots, and he struggled before the break. And then the outing in Cleveland was kind of like the, yeah, this might be over game. Whenever he only gets one out, and it requires an outstanding defensive play from Nick Gonzalez. And after that play, 2 pitches later, he gives up the walk-off home run. And then he goes to New York, and it was scoreless inning, but it was hardly clean. It was a disappointing end because it's like, that's not how I'm going to remember Dennis Santana's time as a Pirate. My memories of Dennis Santana in Pittsburgh are going to circle around guys like Yohan Ramirez, who is in his third stint with the team. And he didn't keep a roster spot after the first 2 times. And it was like, you know what? This might be it for him. Like, he's just not going to ever pan out here. They quite literally gave up on him. They put him on waivers, but Santana always had his arm around him. He was always talking to him. He was always, hey, let's go play catch. Whenever you go out, I'm going to hold you accountable. He did a lot of the veteran mentorship stuff that you would hope that a player in his position would. And Yohan Ramirez is having a good season. There is a legitimate claim to be made that he has been the Pirates' best reliever this year. Unless you want to count Majinski, who, as I keep saying, the way he's using this bullpen, he's not making that big an impact. Yohan Ramirez has the highest win probability added of anyone in this bullpen. It has been a wild year, and I don't think he ever gets to this point without Dennis Santana. I saw him fail here in Pittsburgh without Dennis Santana, and this time he succeeded. It's a shame because I see Santana's impact on this team in places like that. But whenever you have a bullpen that struggles this much, there's an obvious scapegoat. And even though he has had a very bad year, and I totally understand why he became the face of it, and I'm not even arguing with him being a scapegoat, it does raise the question of what do you do in this bullpen now that it's official that you can't hope that this guy rights the ship again. You are officially on to the next plan. We're going to take a quick break. Throw it over to Cody. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack hydration sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way for you to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified and entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. The Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. My personal favorites so far have been the almond butter chip and the iced tea lemonade hydration mix. It's just really full of flavor. I love starting my day with it, and I couldn't imagine starting my day with anything else other than IQ Bar products. Right now, IQ Bar is offering our podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Coming into the year, the Pirates didn't have a set closer, but it was clear that Dennis Santana was going to be one of those guys. He had the fire, entrance video and all. He was going to be one of those guys. And Gregory Soto was going to be one of those guys. And from what I heard, Justin Lawrence was projected to be one of those guys. And now they don't have Lawrence and Santana. The fact that you willingly DFA 2/3 of your preseason, he's got to pitch the 8th and 9th guys. Not a great sign. Not a great sign also that Isaac Mattson was probably one of those guys who being like on the fringe, and he went to Indianapolis. It's very indicative of this bullpen as a whole this year. But again, Santana, until the day he was DFA'd, was viewed as a leverage option by Don Kelly, who he really wanted this to work. You could tell. He was quick to point out, well, he had a good run not that long ago. Still believe. You could tell Don Kelly really wanted him to stay, and I think the leadership is a part of it. But at some point, you have to look at what's good for the team. Anyway, he was supposed to be one of those 8th, 9th guys. Right now, I look at this team. I don't know who the 8th, 9th guys are. Soto, okay. I mean, do you want to put Montgomery in there? Do you want to put Mattson in there? Do you want to say, throw danger to the wind and say Wilbur Dotel, if you've thrown a scoreless 7th and 8th, you've got the 9th too? It's one of those spots. I don't know who those guys are internally right now. This is a Pirates team that needs to add those guys at the deadline. They need to land someone like a Luke Weaver. They need to get guys that whenever your back is up against the wall, Don Kelly has someone he can turn to. I really don't know if they have that guy right now. Thought exercise was Pirates are up 2-1 in the 7th inning. Who do you go to close out the game? Carmen Majinski's unavailable. And there's not, in my opinion, a really good sequence right now. Pirates need to figure that out. And I did suspect one of those roster moves was going to be coming at Dennis Santana's roster spot. Like that was going to be the trade-off. And, maybe Ron Marinaccio could be that type of guy. Maybe he can be part of the solution in this bullpen, but this is hardly the bigger profile trade that I thought was coming. The Pirates need to make a couple of those trades. They need to shore up this bullpen because coming into the year, Dennis Santana was supposed to be one of the guys, maybe the guy in that bullpen, and it didn't come to fruition. And whenever you don't have him in that mix anymore, you need to have someone who can step up because for 2 years, 1.5 years really, Dennis Santana was as reliable as any pitcher came through the Pirates bullpen. It's a shame that it had to end this way, but it got to the point that it had to end. Thank you so much for listening to Offbeat here on North Shore 9, presented by FanDuel. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe wherever you find a podcast, or check us out on YouTube if you want to see my smiling face. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again tomorrow.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.